Hare Krishna, Vamshi Prabhu. Thank you for joining. Hare Krishna, Sham Prabhu. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yeah, we can. How are you, Prabhuji?
Good, thank you. Oh, there you are, Sham Prabhu. I see you. Good. Okay, we'll give everybody one more minute and then we'll get started, all right?
Not honest, sir.
All right, we'll get started. Let's see. It's 9:31. So thank you all very much, dear devotees from San Diego. Those of you who are joining for the first time, my name is Madana-gopāla Das. I'm living in New Jersey, and I visited the wonderful community of San Diego last week, and I was just so inspired by all of you with your just amazing sincerity and passion for Krishna, and genuine inquisitiveness for understanding the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And I felt that I could really connect with all of you. So, and I felt so welcomed in your homes and in your community that I thought I would share some of the slides that I've put together in the past. And some of these slides, these are fairly new, some of them. And perhaps we can explore some of these questions that are recurring across various communities that I've seen, you know. So today the topic is the question, why Krishna? You know, that's the question, why Krishna? And interestingly, this is a question that's asked a lot. This is a question that asked a lot.
Wilson is also in the meeting.
In India, even more than other places. So, okay, see, Dharanidhar Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Dharanidhar Prabhu, Pranam. And Malti Mataji, Hare Krishna, Pranam. All right, so we'll go right into it. Let's see. Okay, hopefully we can see my screen. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We'll explore one verse in the Bhagavad Gita. This is the first verse of the four core verses of the Gita called the Chatur Shloki Gita. And the first one is chapter 10, verse number 8. So it starts with 8, 9, 10, 11. Those are the four core verses that explain the position of Krishna and his philosophy. So those four verses are worth memorizing. If you have a hard time remembering which verse it is, it's 10, 8. 10, chapter 10, verse number 8. Or you can just remember 108, 108 auspicious number. That's the verse, chapter and verse. It becomes 108, that's the starting of Chaturshloki. All right. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. Krishna tells Arjuna, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So Krishna is making a very big claim over here, that I am the source of everything. Spiritual world, material world, everything at all that exists comes from me. And those who are intelligent, those who are wise, Buddha, they engage in my devotional service. They worship me with all their hearts. And Krishna also says exclusively me, no one else. And he's Ananya Bhak, other places. So the question may arise, Sorry. Why Krishna? I mean, there are so many other options. Why Krishna? And so we're going to explore this question. We're going to start from the very, very beginning. Okay, maybe this is really the pathway that I took in my life, and perhaps it's the same kind of pathway that many of other devotees may have come through. But some of us may have been taught at a young age that we should pray to God. God is this great divine being who helps us and is all good and all powerful. We learn about God. And if we pray to God, He will help us in our lives. And so as children, we do that. We pray. Right? And then what happens? That we go to school. We go to school, learn science, and maybe come to the conclusion that there cannot really be a God. I mean, it's just like probably a fairy tale. As we get more advanced in our, or more sophisticated in our learnings, in our education, in our science, and how the world works, and we see there's no visible God, really speaking. So we ask theological questions. Does God exist? It's a very famous scientist, Werner Heisenberg. He said something very intriguing. I found this quote very intriguing. Right? He said, the first gulp from the glass of natural sciences will turn you into an atheist. But at the bottom of the glass is God waiting for you. You know, and I found my own evolution the same, going through the same. When I was a child, I had strong faith in God. By the time I was in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, maybe around 8th grade, I was like, there's no way, you know, especially when you learn about evolution and things like that. And you're taught these things and you get more sophisticated in your knowledge of the world. And God becomes less and less prominent in the educational system, right? So I also kind of got really into this atheistic idea that, hey, you know, God is just like Tooth Fairy or, you know, Santa Claus or Easter Bunny. As kids, it's fine for entertainment, but when you get more sophisticated in your knowledge of science, you got to also let God go, you know, just the way of all these mythological creatures. But it's interesting, as you get more sophisticated in your understanding, as we mature, we actually realize there is a higher power. You go very scrutinizingly into the world. You start studying it and seeing how life is so divine. In other words, you know, just look at the way our eye works. It's so sophisticated. Look at the way the universe works, the way the planets move around. It's like a very intricate clock. There's no way it wasn't designed by a higher intelligence. And then you look at the cellular level. It's each cell in our body is like a city in sophistication. Anyone who studied biology in depth, and microbiology, or studied medicine, you'll know it's incredibly sophisticated. And when we see how life is divine, you come to this conclusion: certainly there is a God. We see it. We see it in the world around us. We'd be foolish to not see it. So as we mature, we realize there is a higher power. And sometimes we take part in prayers or services. And not only do we see the sophistication of the world, but we feel a divine presence. Doesn't matter whether it's a Christian prayer or it doesn't matter a Muslim prayer or whatever, but we feel there's something. There's a sense, a very strong sense in our heart when we try to connect. And there's a reciprocation, which is, it's undoubtedly there. We see the presence. So then we start grappling. Okay, who or what is this God? What is this presence that we're feeling? It's a universal phenomenon that we find across many cultures. Now, how can I find out what or who is this God? So we turn to the different traditions around the world that seek God, that have sought to explain God or the divine or the higher power and try to communicate that to the world. All around this, all throughout history, we've had this struggle. So now, thankfully, in this day and age, we have access to all these different traditions. We can go and research them. It's available. Before it was in libraries. Now you don't even need to go to the library. You can just find out on Google. And now you don't even need to go to Google. You can just go to ChatGPT and just say, give me a comparative analysis of these religions or something. And you'll get an incredible, so how many words you want. It'll just give it to you. So if we were to study and you ask the right questions, you do some comparative shopping, we'll discover this thing called the Vedic paradigm, what is called Sanatana Dharma. This paradigm, this philosophical, let's just say, structure or infrastructure to explain the world and to explain the divine, that seems to be the most exhaustive, the most voluminous, the most thorough. It's quite complete. And if nothing, it's certainly the oldest one around that's still being followed and practiced. In other words, it's time tested. So let us see what this Vedic / Indian / Hindu / Sanatana Dharma tradition has to teach us. Right? So one key concept that we'll find in the Vedic paradigm, and we'll also find from our own experience and from our own intuition, that true happiness does not come from accumulating more and more material things for selfish sense gratification, but rather it comes from deeper, something transcendental to the material plane. So at least that becomes clear, that the goal of life is not more and more material enjoyment. When we're children, we have fun when we eat some ice cream. We feel happy, or some candy or something like that. But then you won't get more and more happiness by eating 10 ice cream cones. You won't be 10 times happier. You see, you'll just be miserable. And we realize that if we can somehow rise above the materialism, cultivate detachment, and find an inner happiness, then we get closer to what is godly experience, what is a godly life, what is a spiritual life. So this is very much extolled in the Vedic paradigm. It's also glorified in all the other cultures, all the other religious cultures. Rise above materialism, rise above selfishness, be detached from all this sense gratification, find inner happiness, be simpler. It's a common theme, but in particular in Vedic paradigm, it's very much an ongoing theme, right? Now, most of us, I think many of us on this call, myself included, we grew up in or around areas, societies, families where Vedic Dharma in some form or another was being practiced. In my case, my family, especially my grandma, was a very devout Hindu. And in our home, she offered daily arti, this arti ceremony, to beautiful pictures of Durga Devi. Our main one was Durga Devi, we call Ambama. Lord Shiva was also there on the altar. These are all different pictures we had. Sitaram was there on the altar, and Hanumanji picture was there. It was really quite colorful, amazing to look at these paintings and wonder where these divine beings lived, how they operated, how they worked. And then, so this is me growing up, and then also met other Hindus, and some confusion began to arise. This idea of impersonalism, that doesn't matter, it's all the same. It doesn't matter which one you choose, ultimately they're all the same. You can just choose which one you prefer, like it's preferential gods. I worship Ram. Someone says, I worship Shiva, since he is the supreme. I worship this one and that one. I worship Hanumanji. So I worship Ambama. From her, everything comes. So then some confusion comes in. Wait a minute, which one is it? Is all the same, or are they somewhat different? Why do different people have different preferences? Is it disrespectful to say one is greater than the other? Some people say, no, Ambama is the greatest, from where everything comes. Some people say Lord Shiva is the greatest, everything comes from him. Some people say Lord Ram. I mean, which is it? It's very confusing. Then you get Ganesh over there sitting on the lap. Ultimately, he's the main one because he's really cool with the elephant head. It's really hard to figure it out because who do you believe now? So we have to, maybe what we could do is we could go back to the source of this information. Where do we even get information? What are the various information sources of this Vedic knowledge? If we were to look at our own selves, growing up in the modern world, where do we learn about these things? So source number one is grandma. She's the one who tells the stories. She's the one who tells us who to worship. She's the one who tells us how to bow down and so on. That's our first source. And then, of course, our own parents. Our parents are like, yeah, you got to listen to grandma. She's kind of cool. And also, we also believe, so when you go to temple, you got to ring the bell and so on. You got to bow down. And then when you ask, Daddy, why the God has elephant head? And Daddy's like, Beta, aisa nahi puchte. Son, you don't ask like these kind of questions. Just bow down. Okay, don't ask too many questions. So that's, sometimes the parents also don't know too many things. Then there's also the pujari of the local temple. And he's always, offering these nice things to the Lord, ringing this big bell. And you can ask him sometimes what's going on, and he'll tell you. A lot of times the language barrier, but sometimes he'll explain, what he's doing, why he's worshiping. Then there another source. These are all the different information sources, which just adds to the confusion, right? Then, of course, Bollywood movies. We learn a lot about God from the culture of Bollywood movies, especially if you've been brought up watching them. I certainly was. I grew up in the 70s, 80s, 90s. And there was a lot of like these Vedic elements or religious elements in Bollywood movies. And we kind of pieced things together and made our own conglomerate idea based on what we saw, what we heard from our parents and so on. Then Indian TV serials back in the 80s, we had this Mahabharata TV series. I learned a lot from there. It's huge, right? And then, of course, there's Amar Chitra Katha. Amar Chitra Katha is an incredible, rich source. I read a bunch of these comics. They're like comic books, but really well written, really nicely done. So you learn a lot about the stories, about the philosophy and so on, about Krishna and of Birbal and Lord Buddha. And so it's like hundreds and hundreds of these little magazines, comics. Amar Chitra Katha, you got cartoons. So based on all these inputs, we form a conglomeration or say khichdi of ideas that create our quote unquote understanding of Hinduism or Sanatan Dharma. But what is the main source of all these sources? What is the root source of these sources? The root source is scriptures, the Vedas and the Puranas. This is Vyasadeva who wrote pretty much all our scriptures that we follow. So instead of just looking at people's personal opinions or family preferences or folk tale based philosophy, let's just turn to the root, the authorized scriptures from which all these different people find their source of material. And if we're serious, maybe we should put aside our emotional attachments to particular preferences, particular sentiments, and just read from the source. Maybe here we'll finally get some clear answers to all these questions. But there are so many books. Which ones to read? Isn't it? What are we understand that the basis of all Sanatan Dharma is Shruti and Smriti. The two categories of books, Shastra, right? Shruti forms the foundation of all theological philosophy, Shruti. And it consists of 4 Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Atharva, Samveda, and 108 Upanishads. That's Shruti. That's a philosophical foundation, right? The Shruti talks about the explanation of nature of the eternal soul, the higher self, and Supreme Lord, right? And how we and the Supreme Lord are above matter. Now the Smriti means that which is remembered, consists of 18 Puranas and the Itihasas, the epics of Mahabharata and Ramayana. And here I've also singled out Bhagavad Gita, because Bhagavad Gita is its own unique place. Although Bhagavad Gita is really a section of Mahabharata, so it comes under Itihasa. But because it's forming a whole philosophical basis, Bhagavad Gita gets its own space of its greatness. Bhagavad Gita is really considered the essence of all Vedic teachings. And nobody, no self-respecting Hindu will deny that. Bhagavad Gita is so important. In fact, today you go to court, and this is another Bollywood thing that I learned. You go to court, and you have, if you're claim to be Hindu, they give you a Bhagavad Gita to take an oath upon. मैं जो कुछ कहूँगा सच कहूँगा, सच के सिवा कुछ नहीं कहूँगा. This is Shashi Kapoor back then in the 70s, taking his oath on Bhagavad Gita. That's what he realized. Oh, Bhagavad Gita is very special. You know, even here, even in the U.S., this is one of the officers back in, I think, the Trump administration in 2016 or something. And you can see she is a Hindu. She joined the cabinet, and she took the oath on the Bhagavad Gita. That's the Bhagavad Gita as it is. So even now, the Hindus consider Bhagavad Gita, and they don't take oath on Ramayana or Upanishad or something. Everybody pretty much universally knows the Bhagavad Gita is the book that captures the essence of all our philosophy. There's no Hindu who will say, I don't believe in Bhagavad Gita, or I don't accept Bhagavad Gita. So then we can just cut to the chase and read Bhagavad Gita to answer all our questions. What does the Gita tell us? The Gita is the essence of Sanatana Dharma, we know that. And here, this is the kicker. This is very important. Krishna, we just read that verse. Krishna is the Supreme Lord of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattah sarvam pravartate. He is the Supreme Lord of everything. That's very clear. And he's exclusively Supreme Lord. So there's no ambiguity here in Bhagavad Gita. We, all living entities, are his eternal servants. That's also clear in the Gita. And Krishna says, Bhakti amam abhijanati. To know, to understand Krishna, we have to practice this thing known as bhakti. Bhakti means active devotional service. Some kind of service to the Lord that reawakens our love for him, which is eternal. And what is the goal of life? The ultimate goal of life is to reunite with him. So that's clear in the Bhagavad Gita, if you accept the Bhagavad Gita. Clear? Now, coming back to the question, why Krishna? And so now I say, read the Gita and decide that I should understand Krishna and start to worship him. I am decided. I read the Gita. I want to learn more about him. And read the Bhagavad Purana, which gives more details about him, the Srimad Bhagavatam. And someone comes up to me and asks me, why Krishna? And then I said, because the Gita and the Bhagavad Purana say so. And then they say, but that's just your personal preference. You see, I am a Shiva devotee. And according to Shiva Purana, it is Lord Shiva who is supreme. You chose the Bhagavatam, that's your preference. I chose Shiva Purana as my preference. And then I realized, what's going on here? I thought it was clear that Krishna is God. We're going to do this now, right? So I've accepted, coming back to the question, why Krishna? I've accepted the Vedic literatures are the richest source of spiritual knowledge. Right? They're all written by Vyasadeva, including the Shiva Purana and all the Puranas. They're written by the same person, Vyasadeva. So there shouldn't be such confusing contradictions. How can I argue that Krishna is the supreme when other books from the same set of Puranas say something else? Maybe it is true. Maybe it is just a matter of personal preference. Some people just highlight the one they like, or the deity that is worshipped by their own family, or the one that is popular in their city. If you live in Mumbai, you worship one deity because that's the one popular one. and that deity is called the King of Mumbai, right? Or the one they decide they want to worship based on the recent TV serial they saw, and that's the one I want. It's almost like a choosing sports teams or something. Maybe that is just the way it's supposed to work, isn't it? Or is it? Why Krishna then? Why you Hare Krishnas insist only Krishna? Let's come back to this slide again, the transcendence. We know that we want to rise above materialism. It's universally accepted. We want to be detached from selfishness. We want to be detached from sense gratification. We want to find happiness in the heart, deep inside. Okay, so keep this in mind as a general spiritual goal. That's the universal spiritual goal. Nobody argues about this. Okay. Now we want to talk about this concept of material conditioning, the three modes of nature. If you've studied Gita or if you've had any discourse on the Gita, you'll have come across this concept that there are three modes, or 3 degrees of conditioning. Right? Tamas, Rajas, and Sattva. So Tamas is the mode of darkness, mode of ignorance. So it's defined by inertia, inactivity, heaviness, staleness, laziness, stability, materiality, insentience, obstruction. Rajas, mode of passion, is energy, activity, change, passion, dynamic, egotism, agitation, excitement, movement, attachment. And Sattva, mode of goodness, which is considered the highest mode, is defined by light, balance, harmony, kindness, openness, clarity, intelligence, awareness, wellness, inspiration. It's called goodness. So keep these in mind. The 3 degrees of conditioning of all people in the world, all living entities, really. We're tied by these 3 modes. Okay. Tamas, we have selfish aversion. Rajas, we have selfish desire. Sattva is the only mode that actually takes us to selflessness. Rajas, people get overexcited. In Tamas, they're dull, they're depressed, repressed, damaged. In Rajas, they're manic, obsessive, addicted, greedy. Right? All these things. So these are clear. We don't want to be in Rajas and we don't want to be in Tamas. That's very clear because our goals is to rise above selfishness, if you remember. Right? So this is an important framework for us to understand why Sattva is the best. Universally, this is like a objectively agreeable point. No one's going to argue this. Sattva is what we want. Okay. So now we come a step back and understand the purpose of the Vedas. The idea is that no one, regardless of level of material conditioning, should be left out of spiritual progress. The purpose of the Vedas is to lift everybody upward towards spirituality, away from selfishness, away from the misery that comes from selfishness, from the lower modes, upward toward genuine spirituality. No one should feel out of place. That was Vyasadev's goal. Whether someone is deeply in ignorance, deeply in passion, or conditioned by goodness, doesn't matter. Everyone comes and finds a spot under this vast umbrella of the Vedas and the Puranas. So regardless of where you are in your level of conditioning, right? Main thing is get on this Vedic bus. So Vyasadeva, in order to attract and retain all levels of conditioned humans, in Rajas and Tamas and Sattva also, he wrote the Puranas with built-in material enticements to get people to accept a higher power and gradually work their way out of the lower modes over a long time. So regardless of where you are, somehow get on the bus of the Vedas. That's the whole point. Vyasadeva kind of constructed this system that some of the Vedas will be appealing to those in the lower modes. Some of the Vedas will be appealing to the more passion. But get people in. Get them to accept the higher power. Don't let them live like atheists. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, says, those statements of scripture promising fruitive rewards do not prescribe the ultimate good for men, but are merely enticements for executing beneficial religious duties, like promises of candy spoken to induce a child to take beneficial medicine. See? So now basically what Bhagavatam is explaining is that there are many scriptures, there are many statements in the scriptures that promise fruitive, meaning materialistic rewards. But just to get people to come and listen and to do something that might be spiritually uplifting also, beneficial, like candy. Yeah, I'll give you candy, and then you get them to take medicine also. The candy is a materialistic enticement. And what is that medicine? The medicine is detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna. But not everybody's ready to take that medicine right away, straight. So you give them some candy. Oh, you come and do this Vedic thing and you'll become rich. You do this Vedic thing, you'll have a long life. You do this Vedic thing, you get your daughter married to a nice boy. These are nice things. These are material enticements, but they're not spiritual. But it's to get people in the door. That was Vyasadev's purpose. Yeah. Now, you know how sometimes when you have a textbook in college, like chemistry or biology or some textbook, in the beginning of the textbook, there's a page that says how to use this book, like action steps, notes, how to make sense of the book itself. What is the purpose of the book? What section of the book does what? How to use this book. So when Vyasadeva wrote the scriptures, the Puranas in particular, he also wrote how to use the Puranas, how to understand them. Especially if you're trying to figure out why one Purana says one thing, another Purana says something else altogether. You better have some explanation, Vyasadeva. And he does. So he gives an outline. In Padma Purana, Uttarakhand, Lord Shiva in the conversation with Parvati, he explains the key that makes a lot of things make sense. She says, oh, beautiful lady, one should know that the Vishnu, Naradiya, Bhagavata, Garuda, Padma, and Varaha, these are Puranas. These 6 Puranas are in the mode of goodness. The Brahmanda, Brahma Vaivarta, Markandeya, Bhavishya, Vamana, and Brahma, these 6 Puranas are mode of passion. The Matsya, Kurma, Linga, Shiva, Skanda, and Agni are the mode of ignorance. These are also Puranas. So you got 18 Puranas. 3 of them in goodness, 3 of them in passion, 3 of them in ignorance. They are meant for different types of people depending on the level of conditioning. And depending on the level of conditioning, the material enticements that are offered in them, the different deities that they encourage to worship, and so on. It's really to attract those people in that particular mode with the aim and the hope that gradually they'll accept and make progress and realize that no, goodness is more important. And that was the hope. That was the hope that Vyasadeva had when he designed this system. Now, the Puranas, for people who have come to the conclusion that material goals, selfish goals, are temporary, and that materialism does not give deep and lasting happiness. Those kind of Puranas are the Sattvic Puranas. And among the Sattvic Puranas, the greatest and the only one that's certified as spotless Purana, with not even a tinge of enticement, not even a tinge of materialism, not even a tinge of the bait and switch, cheating kind of religion. That is Srimad Bhagavatam. And Vyasadeva wrote that one last. And he wrote it after getting chastised by his guru. His guru is right here, Narad Muni. Vyasadeva was just depressed. Like, I wrote all these Puranas, I wrote Mahabharata, I wrote everything. I'm still not satisfied. I'm feeling like unease. Gurudev helped me understand what's going on. And his Gurudev appeared and said, you made a mistake, Vyasadeva. These different kind of systems you created of enticing people, it's not working. And that's why you're not feeling satisfied. You've actually created more confusion. And he tells him this. He tells him this. My dear Vyasadeva, you made a big mistake. The people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them that way in the name of religion by writing all these other Puranas. This is verily condemned, and it is quite unreasonable. Because they are guided under your instructions, they will accept such activities in the name of religion, and they'll hardly care for prohibitions. I hope you're following where I'm going with this. All the different deities that we know about, all the different gods, all the different gurus, everything, all the different philosophies, they're all there in the Puranas. but they're categorized for different populations depending on their modes. And Vyasadeva thought it was a pretty smart idea to do that, to get people into the door, get on the bus. But Narmada is saying, for the most part, yeah, it's not bad, but it's actually not working. People will think the goal of life is materialism, and they will think such activities are the goals, and they will, in the name of religion, they will not care for any prohibitions. They'll just go for the enticements. Basically, they'll just lick the candy on the outside of the medicine, and then they'll throw away the bitter medicine part. They'll just go after the candy, the sugar coating. This is where he messed up Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva, after having gotten the hot sauce from his guru and having straightened things out, he then wrote the spotless Purana. The second verse of the Bhagavad Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam, it goes like this. Dharma projita kaitavatra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapatrayon Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim va Parairishvara Sadyo Hridyavarudhyatetra Kritibi Shushrushabhi Stakshana. There's not even a tinge of cheating religion or material goals. The Bhagavatam rejects all religious activities which are materially motivated. It gives the highest truth, which is understandable by those who are fully pure in heart. It uproots the threefold miseries. So you see, establishes Supreme Lord in the heart. So the Bhagavatam, the message of Bhagavatam is the pure one. And this is being written by the author who wrote all the other books as well. He's saying this is the one. Forget all the others, please. So coming back to the question, why Krishna? In the purport of this 10.8 that we were reading earlier, Prabhupada writes, a learned scholar who has studied the Vedas perfectly and has information from authorities like Lord Chaitanya, and who knows how to apply these teachings, can understand that Krishna is the origin of everything in both the material and spiritual worlds. And because he knows this perfectly, he becomes firmly fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. He can never be deviated by any amount of nonsensical commentaries or by fools. All Vedic literature agrees that Krishna is the source of Brahma, Shiva, and all other demigods. This is very clear. See. So who is this Krishna? Krishna says, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. He is the one from whom everything comes. Everything. All the designs you see in the world, all creation, the spiritual world, which is eternal, the material world, which is also eternal, but is always going change. He is the one from whom everything comes. Who is this Krishna? He is the master of all living beings. He's the owner and the creator of the entire cosmic manifestation. He's the most powerful, strong, and wealthy person. Who is this Krishna? He is the source of all the different incarnations, as well as the controller of all the demigods. All Devis, all Devtas are controlled by Krishna. Everyone draws their strength, power, and abilities from him. Who is this Krishna? He controls every atom, all the way down to every atom, and every universe at the cosmic level, and everything in between, the subatomic particles and the macrocosmic view. Nothing escapes his vision. He is fully in control. Who is this Krishna? He is the strongest of the strong. And yet he is as soft as a lotus petal. He is love personified. Supreme Lord is the master of all. He's the master of everyone and everything. And yet he becomes a servant of his beloved devotee, Arjuna. He becomes a chariot driver, the servant. He is the master of all, yet he becomes the servant. Here he is bringing the shoes of his father, Nanda Maharaj, on his head with his delicate little hands. to show his love for his father. Although he is the master of everyone, he becomes everyone's servant. That is the amazing part. He makes all the demigods in the universe tremble in fear. And yet he runs in sheer terror from his mother. Rudantam muhur netra yugmam mujantam karam bhoja yugmena satanka netram. His eyes are satanka when he's running away from Mother Yashoda. Satanka means what? Full of terror, not just fear, terror. Sa atanka. Atanka means terror. Atankavadi. His eyes are terrified, and that's real fear. See, this is Krishna. Amazing, mind-blowing. He appreciates and reciprocates the selfless love of the gopis. And although he controls all and can wind up the entire universe in one breath, he remains fully controlled by these purest devotees of his, controlled by love in the gopis' ras dance. And yet, he's also renounced enough to step away from it. And the gopis wonder, where did Krishna go? Oh my God, we're just dancing with him, and all of a sudden, there he is, hiding away from them. That's Krishna. He kills the demons and rewards his devotees. But wait, even the killing of these demons, like he killed Putana, is a kind of love shown to them. Just look at Putana, who became elevated to Goloka Vrindavan just for pretending to want to feed Krishna. Putana joined Mother Yashoda in the spiritual world to serve eternally Krishna in the form of like a motherly love. Just because she came to feed him like a mother. And Krishna saw the good side of her and he gave her liberation immediately, just for pretending to want to serve him. That's how amazing Krishna is. So who is this Krishna? He comes down as his own devotee and his own holy names. Every day, in the form of his holy names, is available to us. Just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In Kali Yuga, this is the mantra given to us in the scriptures. And he became this mantra and he's available to us. And he comes down as his own pure devotee, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to relish and taste the sweetness of bhakti and to share freely with even the most fallen souls of Kali Yuga. And who is this Krishna? He sends his pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, down here just to save us fallen souls in the modern times. He's given so much clarity, such a perfect example to follow. And Krishna, he waits for the day. He's waiting for the day when we finally turn back to him and he can receive us, to embrace us. Coming back to the question, why Krishna? My dear friends, the question is not why Krishna? The question is, why not Krishna? Why not Krishna? I hope this helps clarify that question, gives you a picture. Thank you very much for your kind attention and for your time. So we have a few more minutes. If anybody wants to share your thoughts, reflections, if you have any questions or comments, we can take those now. Thank you. Hare Krishna. You can, Vamshi Prabhu, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a great honor to be with you again, once again. We really enjoyed when you were here. It's really refreshing to hear you. So I think your question kind of assumes that somebody who is, we are having that discussion, why Krishna is actually a believer in Vedas. So let's say if I step even further back, so oftentimes we hear some rationally, some irrationally, that why even Vedas? Like, for example, in the world, there are so many scriptures, each group of people follow, they have their own document. And we, just for politeness, I guess, we say all religions are same, but fundamental differences are there between each of those books, what they preach, how would you start a conversation with one of those arguments?
Yeah, that's
If
a
you
good
can
question. That's
quickly
a
talk
good
about it.
question. Sure. And if you recall in the slideshow, right, we approached this from the point of view of a person who is neutral, right? We talked about doing comparative shopping across different cultures and religions and all, right? So many. If you do comparative shopping, the reasons I gave why someone may choose, because there are many people, many devotees who are not of the Vedic, say, Indian descent. But they find that if you do some comparative shopping, the Vedic paradigm is the most voluminous. It's quite thorough. It's very complete in so many ways. It's the oldest and it's time tested. That's why you make the case for this. However, the point is, you use the word, very important word. Why should somebody believe in the Vedas? You see, so it's not about belief. Prabhupada explained this very nicely. Belief, you can believe something that's true or not true. That's belief is belief, true or not. Truth is truth, whether you believe it or not. So belief is irrelevant to truth. Okay. Now, I'm not just using to juggle words. I'm saying when we have a paradigm, why would you accept a paradigm? Paradigm means a worldview that explains everything we see, right? That's called a paradigm. For example, is a chemistry paradigm, the paradigm of the atom. And they use that to explain how chemistry works and how chemicals interact and everything. And you can see it's consistent, it replicates. You can apply it in different places of chemistry and it works consistently. You can use it to create so many plastics and so many medications. It works. And you see the results. You see a paradigm. So a paradigm, you accept a paradigm based on two things. Two things. One, it has to be complete and it has to be sound. Completeness and soundness. What does that mean? Complete means that it accounts for all observable phenomena. Like everything you see in the world, how the world works physically, how the cosmos works, how the stars move, how the people interact, how you feel when you do certain things, what happens when you behave a certain way, what happens when people eat certain things. Everything is explained in the Vedic paradigm. It's complete. It accounts for all observable phenomena. You apply Ayurveda principles, you'll be healthier. Ayurveda is part of the Vedic paradigm. You see what I'm saying? Similarly, you apply cosmological. In the Vedic paradigm, they could predict eclipses 100 years into the future, down to the second. Amazing. So what I'm trying to say is it's a very scientific thing. For you to accept the truthiness of a paradigm, it has to have two things. It has to be complete. It has to be sound. Sound means what? Sound means it is free from internal contradictions. It is a whole system of ideas, philosophies, assertions, truths. And if you see them holistically, and you study it, it's actually free from internal contradictions, if you understand it. Like today, we saw there are contradictions, right? Some people believe in Ganesh, some people go for Shiva, but if you look at it holistically, it actually makes sense why certain things are certain ways. Why Vyasadeva wrote these books to attract certain kinds of people. And so the deity for mode of ignorance is Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva does attract ghostly kind of people. It makes perfect sense. If you only look at one piece, you'll be confused. But if you look at the whole thing, it's sound. So if you have a paradigm that is both sound and complete, then you have to accept it. If you have integrity, you see. If you're like, okay, if you're going to be just blind faith, I don't believe your stuff.
Mommy, I want you to read that.
Sorry. So this is how one accepts a paradigm. And that's how we can kind of we can confidently say, hey, if you have a paradigm that's more comprehensive, a worldview that explains everything like the Vedas do, I will drop the Vedas and embrace those. But I have not seen anything that comes even close to it. That's how you sell it. That's how you build your own faith in this. You only need a little bit of faith in the beginning, and then you start applying, you see if it works. You don't need much blind faith. The blind faith is gone. You don't need blindness in faith. You just have a stronger sense of trust in it because it works. Just like, say, you have a strong trust in a particular doctor because anything he prescribes always fixes your problem because he uses a paradigm. medical paradigm. He's good at it. He shows you in the medical books why things work. Similarly, the Vedas work like that too. You see, that's why we embrace it, and we continue embracing it because it works. It's consistent, and you feel it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great question. Yes, Ferdi Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining. Yes, you are muted. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, humble obeisances to you.
Hare Krishna.
So I'm reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I wonder if you can give some suggestions on some guidance on the best way to read it. I'm on Canto 6, but the other question is, it's a very dense text, and oftentimes I want to try and read other texts along with it, but I also don't want to get too overwhelmed with information. So am I approaching my studies of Vedic literature in the right way?
Yes, it's a good question. How to approach, and you're already on the 6th canto, means you've already covered a huge volume of material as it is, so, and you're going about it in the right way already, because you started with the 1st canto, right? And so on. So that's the proper way to do it. The Bhagavatam, you can start from anywhere. However, it is strongly recommended you start from the 1st canto and move upward to the 10th and then 11th and 12th. In particular, because when we go to the 10th canto, we see Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead's pastimes, and they appear human-like. If you haven't done the first 9 cantos, then the 10th canto will be very confusing. But once you understand how great God is, and you see now what he does, you have a very strong background that this is not an ordinary person we're talking about. You see, when he does things as a kid, he's not a kid. When he does things, when he's dancing with the gopis, or when he's kidnapping his wife, and so on and so forth, it's something very unique. It's transcendental. So we will not mistake it. So your approach is perfect in one sense, right? But as you said, it is very densely packed. And so it may be helpful to find some study circles, study buddies, perhaps. I know here we have some devotees, what they do is they read 15 or 20 pages a day, every day. They read 15, 20, and they work as a group. But once a week, and they read the same pages every day, independently of each other. But once a week, they get together for an hour and talk about the whole week, what they read. And when you talk about it, you digest it, then what happens, it accelerates your learning, because you see from different points of view the same material. You can share, contexts. At the same time, it keeps you accountable. And when you read with the aim of discussing it later on in the week, you'll read a little bit more actively. You'll read with an attempt to retain something, so you'll have something to talk about. So that's a tip that I can offer. You can find a study buddy or create your own circle. You can decide how many pages per day you want to read, but that sort of thing can really help. As a suggestion, the material is a lot. I mean, those books are so big, but it's also very nectarian. I mean, it's very uplifting. Sometimes it gets very technical, and you just have to kind of move through it. That's fine too. You don't have to necessarily understand every single word. It's fine. Sometimes just long lists of names are so overwhelming. Who are these names? Who are these characters? That's fine too. But that's the one suggestion I can offer. You're already quite advanced because you reached the 6th canto. Very few people have made it that far. So kudos to you. And you've been practicing for so many years, Prabhu. So you know very nicely what these things are. But that's one small thing I can offer.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Thank you, Ferdinand. Anyone else has any comments or questions? I want to say I'm quite impressed by the devotees joined. So yes, we have. Yes, I think you got two machines open there, but that's fine. Yes. Hare
Krishna. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the lecture, because it really helped me understand why Krishna, we worship Krishna, and it really helped me understand. So very much thanks.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Why we do it. Good job. Okay, Rakhi Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Sorry about the background here. So I have a question about how Krishna was so merciful to Putana and all other demons and in his pastimes. But there are a lot of devotees who are like Rishi Munis and everybody praying for ages and ages. But aren't they? How are the demons getting what the other those devotees are not getting? Isn't it unfair a little bit?
It's good. It's a good question. So the Rishi Munis also get very nice results. You see, it boils down to the intensity of love. Now with Putana, there's a backstory. See, you may be familiar with the backstory in a previous life. She was there, right? She was Bali Maharaj's.
Yeah, Vamana.
And Vamanadev came, and she was Bali Maharaj's sister. And when Vamanadev came, Vamanadev was this so cute, tiny little boy. And so when she saw Vamanadev come, she was overwhelmed with affection like a mother. She said, oh my God, I wish he was my own baby and I could feed him from my own body. I really wish I could feed him from my own body. And the Lord registered that desire because she fell in love with the Lord's beautiful form. He said, I will fulfill that desire. And that desire was very intense and it was directed toward the Lord in a very positive way, right? But she wasn't a pure devotee. She was also very attached to her husband, her brother's success. Bali Maharaj was very successful. And when Vamanadev Trivikram became so big, and he took away everything from Bali Maharaj and stepped on him and stuff like that, then she said, oh my God, how terrible. This is such a terrible kid. He's not even a kid anymore. Such a kid should be given poison. So then the Lord registered that desire to, okay, you know what? Next time I'll let you give me poison, but also feed me like a mother. Both. The poison part, Krishna left it out. He spits it out. He only looks at the good. And because the desire was so intense, that's why it says, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, Yajeta Purusham Param. That our approach to the Lord should be as intensely filled with love as hers was. Then even later, if it's some impurities coming, doesn't matter. The intensity of the initial desire was so strong, it kind of threw out all the other impurities, and Krishna disregarded them.
Great. Yes. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, Bhavya Mataji, go ahead. Yes, go ahead. We see. Bhavya, we're not able to hear you. Are you saying something? The sound isn't coming through unless someone else is able to hear, but I'm not hearing anything. No, right? Okay, maybe the mic isn't working or something like that. Anyone else have any comments or questions? Okay. Well, I want to thank you all once again. Oh, yes, Prashant. Prashant Prabhu, go ahead. Yes, please unmute.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for taking out the time for so many devotees in San Diego. We are all feeling grateful for your time and your effort. We learned a lot. We learned a lot about it. Krishna. Yeah. Prabhuji, I had a small question regarding the same. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So since everything and everybody has Krishna within them as a supreme personality, right? And so all this God would also have Krishna within them, like Shiva, or if we talk about any other God that we talked about today. Now it's like very deep conditioning since generation that we used to worship not one but many gods in the temple. So it is as a practice, and when we talk about taking particularly one path, then the same way you mentioned, like grandparents and parents conditioning comes that but when everything is same, right? So how it is different if we worship one god, they'll take you to the Krishna ultimately, because that is the supreme personality. So it is little difficult to explain or even to convince that if that's, no matter whom you worship, but if, since we believe that Krishna is within everybody and each and in all the gods, they will ultimately take you on the same path. So how to convince them or to ourselves in that kind of question?
Yes. It's a good question. And I think you basically answered the question by the explanations that you also gave. A lot of these, our attachments are because of deep affection that is based on family affection, based on family tradition. Also, there's our own direct affection. When we grew up, we developed a strong taste for that particular deity. Not only that, even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, he tells Arjuna, if someone's faith is strong in one particular deity, Arjuna, don't disturb them. That he says that, because to disturb that can be very shocking. Also, really speaking, that's why when he says don't disturb, means you have to do very delicately and carefully. Otherwise, what will happen, you end up misrepresenting Krishna consciousness. And Krishna consciousness will come across as a very harsh, heartless, stone cold, judgmental group or religion or a person. So that's key. At the same time, we also have to convey the truth. The truth has to be spoken palatably, gently, lovingly. And I think we've discussed this before, Aisha Mataji, right? This notion, for example, worshipping Shiva. It's wonderful. I grew up worshiping Lord Shiva. He's Bholenath. He's so, Bhole means innocent, very sweet, very attractive, adorable. He's the greatest. Shambho, very powerful. He's not even really a demigod as such. He's basically at the next level of Vishnu. He's like this close to Vishnu in power. Maybe just like one tiny notch less. He's not a category of Jiva like us. He's not, So Lord Shiva is basically worshipable. We want to worship Lord Shiva. There's nothing wrong in worshiping Lord Shiva. But because we worship Lord Krishna exclusively, how do I accommodate my desire to worship Lord Shiva? And if you remember, we discussed this. If you worship Lord Krishna in the proper context, you will not be bereft of worshiping Lord Shiva. How is that? In our temple here, ISKCON temple in Towako, New Jersey, we have an altar with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then there's also the Panchatattva. And the Panchatattva is Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya is Lord Shiva, Sadashiv. So we don't miss out on worship, but we worship him in the proper context of Lord Chaitanya, who is in the proper context of worshiping Lord Krishna. On the other altar, we have Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman. Hanumanji is an expansion of Lord Shiva. So we're not bereft of pleasing Lord Shiva in that expansion, but in the proper context of worshiping him with Lord Ram as his beloved. You see, so we don't miss out on anything. All demigods are completely pleased because they're also worshiping Lord Krishna. And they're pleased when you kind of not necessarily put them aside, but when you join them in worshiping Krishna the proper way. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the people who worship all these other gods and other methods, they're worshiping me only. He says that. But he says, avidhi purvakam. They're doing it the wrong way. So then he's telling us, why don't you do that the right way? The right way is to worship Lord Shiva through the point of Hanumanji. You worship, but you do the right way. No demigod is left out of Krishna's circle. No devtas, no guru, everybody is connected with Krishna, but you do the right way. When we talk about rasa bhas, we can't just mix and match and put anything and anybody on the altar. I can't put Lord Ram and then put Sita Devi somewhere else, and then put like Radharani next to Lord Ram and put Sita Devi next to Lord Krishna. That mix and match doesn't work. But you might argue Sita and Radha are the same. They're not. They are and they're not. You can't just mix and match. There's a rasa bhas. There's certain rules to worship properly. Similarly, there are rules to worship. If you want to worship Hanumanji, put him next to Lord Ram. Some people worship only Lakshmi Devi because they think worship Lakshmi Devi will get a lot of money. No, you should never worship Lakshmi Devi by herself. You should put her with Narayana. That's the proper way. Otherwise, Avidi Purvakam, you see. That's why nothing is left out, but you have to do it properly. Having only Lakshmi Devi in your altar and no Narayan, you know what that means? Can you imagine if someone sent an invitation to you? Hey, Isha Mataji, you come to my party. Very nice. Okay. But don't bring your husband, only you come. What does that mean? That's very bad. It means you have some bad intentions or something, you know? So Lakshmi Devi, you come, but don't bring Narayan. You stay there. Narayan, you stay away. Only Lakshmi I want. That's not, that's what Ravan wanted. Ravan wanted Sita. No, Ram, you stay there. Sita, come with me. That's the improper way of worship. It's not worship. It's wrong. So if you really want to follow, you follow Bhagavad Gita, nobody will be left out. And your heart will be satisfied that even if you had a previous tradition, because you're now watering the root of all existence, all the leaves and the branches, which are the demigods and different things, they're all part of Krishna's big tree. You water the root by worshiping Krishna, everybody gets there. Otherwise, you'll never please all the demigods. You cannot. There's 330 million of them. Who are you going to offer and who are you going to keep out? But if you worship Krishna, everybody gets covered. That's a smart way to do it. So that's how you would explain it. But you have to do it very delicately because you're dealing with sentiment. And so when you apply philosophy, you have to do it softly, gently, lovingly. It's not easy, but you have to do it. Yes. Thank you very much. Hopefully, Bhavya has her technology sorted out. Bhavya, you want to try again?
Yes, Prabhuji, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear now. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for your wonderful talk, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. It was such a simple and deep talk. In such a short time, you explained so many important concepts. My question was regarding karma. So I think something that a lot of people struggle with, even coming into Krishna consciousness, is easy for some of us, but some of us struggle with the concept of karma. I mean, karma is real whether you believe in it or not, and it doesn't discriminate between an innocent person or not. It all depends on your accrued karma, right? But when you look at all the suffering, the scale of the suffering in the world, especially when innocent lives are affected, it's very hard to accept it. Even though you know it theoretically, it's very hard to accept it. And a lot of people who don't believe in God use this reason that, I can't believe in a God who allows such suffering to exist. Right. So how do you approach this situation was my question.
Yeah, this is another very delicate question because there's a lot of deep emotions connected with it. And it's true. When we see the suffering around us in the world, it is very painful. What they accept, even if you accept karma, doesn't make the suffering visible to us any less painful. It's huge. It's hugely heartbreaking, and it moves us to try to make life better for them, to run to their aid, to do whatever it takes to help them out. It's very natural. It's normal. It's also understandable that someone can lose faith in God. How can there be a God who is both all good and all powerful and allow this suffering in this world?
Exactly. Yeah.
So there's a very nice book written by a Jewish rabbi, Rabbi Harold Kushner. It's called When Bad Things Happen to Good People. And he wrote, he explored the whole concept. And I think it was maybe his son who was born with a very debilitating disease, and his son withered away in front of his eyes in just a few years. And it was so heartbreaking. Like, what did my baby son do to deserve this? It couldn't have possibly hurt anybody. He's suffering from his babyhood and only lived a few years, but yet he was just tortured. And he ended up concluding that God is not all powerful. He may be all good, but he's not all powerful. So he had to give up one of those things. But we understand very clearly that God, by definition, is all powerful and all good. We also understand that karma is there. And that's why we see this pains, sufferings. But a higher understanding, there's a higher understanding, by the way, is the higher understanding that no one really deserves karma itself. We get that sense that people in the souls don't deserve karma. The only reason why we're stuck in here, this place where there's a lot of misery, is because of our insistence to God, our insistence that no, we want to enjoy separately from you. And God says, don't do it. Do not go there. Yes, I have a place where you can pretend that whole thing, but don't do it. I'm telling you right now, the place is so miserable. It's so confusing. You'll suffer from amnesia. You'll forget our relationship. It'll cover you temporarily, but there's a time factor there. And there's so many ups and downs. It's nothing but pain. It's dukhalayam. Don't do it. And yet we insist on doing it. That is our misfortune. And even after having come to this place, this dark place called the material world, the Lord keeps coming to remind us, hey, you don't belong here. Come on, come on. He comes every single day, personally. Every day, of course, the day of Lord Brahma, for him, it's just one day. A day of Brahma is millions of years for us, but he comes in his incarnation personally, and he sends his prophets, he sends his representatives, he sends so many pure gurus, he sends the scriptures. He does it all the time. He gives us bridges to come out of this world. The world is designed for this. So it's basically a world of pain. It is hard to accept it's hard to understand if you only see it from that tiny point of view. If you only see everything from one lifetime, it's impossible to make sense of it. You have to give up this idea that God is all powerful or all good. Maybe he's all powerful, but maybe he's not all good. Maybe he enjoys torturing people. Maybe he's this sadistic person who's very powerful, and we're just helpless, like little ants being tortured by a kid with a magnifying glass. And some people do come to that conclusion, and they develop a huge bitterness toward God. But most people will just become atheistic, that there's no such thing as God. Or if there is a God, is not having your definition of all good and all powerful. But in Krishna consciousness, in the paradigm, which is complete and sound, that's the way we explain it. It explains other cool things we see in the world. For example, why little kids can remember their past lives. There's a few kids by the age of 2 or something when they start speaking, but they start speaking about their past lives. And they describe them very clearly. And then they can be corroborated. They lived in this country, they spoke this language, and they actually go there, they find the house, and he remembers the stuff. Thousands of such cases. The modern paradigm can't answer those questions. The Vedic paradigm answers it directly. You see, that's why Vedic paradigm is so clear. But again, my point is, if someone is not willing to listen, it's very difficult to get through to them because they're already crushed in their heart about the pain in the world. That's why it's very important to approach this very delicately. It's not an easy thing to do. And to approach it delicately means in a good, say, bedside manner. But it's important for us to feel the pain of the others first. Tremble with them. Feel the pain of the person sitting next to you. Really get to know them as a friend, because we are all friends eternally. And then from that place of love and care, after we've established a sense of trust, then we've explained gently, this is my understanding, this is what we've been taught by our gurus, this is how we can make sense of the world, how we can make sense of the pain in the world. And the most important thing is we work very hard to alleviate the pain in the world. Not just, explain the pain, but work hard to help the people who are in pain. See, to save lives. That's what Krishna consciousness is about. It is the welfare activity, to serve community, society, to serve who you can by giving them Krishna. That is a real key to coming out of pain. So it's not just explaining the pain, explaining the existence of God, but what are you doing? What are we doing to uplift ourselves and our neighbors and our friends above this cycle of pain, and selfishness? That's really the bottom line. And if you represent that, if you really believe and you're doing it, they will sense it. And like, no, I want to be like Bhavya. I want to be just like her. I want to be with her, and I want to be like her. And that's how it works. Okay, Bhavya?
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Well, my obeisances to all of you once again. for this opportunity to serve you. I'll work with Esha Mataji if you like session sometime in the future, if that's okay with all of you. All right. Thank you, Shanti.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Definitely, we are looking for such weekly satsang from you. Like, this is so comfortable. We're all able to attend, after office, sitting from home. So definitely, we are looking for more such session, even on weekly basis like this. Today's topic was fantastic. So, these are all the questions we all have in mind. And all other topics that we covered in San Diego last week as well, like how are rituals and what exactly japa means. These are all more like practical topics, like that we all have, like, while worshipping Gurudevata or other gods, like, we won't used to call it as a demigods, right? For us, all are gods. So thank you so much. We are looking for more such topics on weekly basis, Prabhu, or like through Zoom.
Absolutely. So we'll try to we'll communicate them. Try to make them regular.
Sure, Prabhu. And also, like, as I requested, right, even a series of complete topic, if you start new batch of Bhagavatam, Mahabharatam, or Bhagavad Gita, or Upanishad, any new batch, San Diego audience is always there, ready to join any fresh batch like this.
Yes, wonderful.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
My obeisances to all of you. Look out for the next announcement. You'll get it from Esha Mataji, and we'll take it from there. My obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. See you soon. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Bye. Hare Krishna.